But where they were stealing stuff, Horace says, right, go in there and act. And that was it, really. He said, this is what's going to happen, this is the scene, block, 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 and this is from point A to point B. So we went in and we'd done point A, the middle, and the end. And so that scene
without scripted dialogue.
Without scripted dialogue, you know. So that part in the market where I was walking around was all improvised, you know. The other part, what was really improvised as well was, sorry, I'm trying to think because it's been a long time, guys. The other part that was improvised was the part where when we came from the supermarket and I ran downstairs in the basement, and you'll see that in the film, that was improvised, you know, where they were having a go at me and saying, what the, you know, you stupid or something. I'm going, oh my God, no. You know, it's all improvised as we went along. So, but don't forget, we did, there was a lot of scripts as well. There was a lot scripted within it. But it's only 1 or 2 key moments that was improvised, you know.
And just to give a note on that, I mean, it sounds good, improvisation, you get real action, you get the thing for real, but from a director point of view, it's very difficult, right? Because even with professional actors, I'm talking this from my own experience, in fact, with Ragamuffin, which was not professional actors, but the challenge is to get the same action twice, because with film, you're working with a single camera, right? So the action happens from one angle, and then you need the same action from another angle to be able to cut it together, right? And of course, if it's improvised, you can't get the same thing twice, basically. But June, I'd like to go back to you, and basically the film when it came out was not celebrated as a classic whatsoever. In fact, it really struggled to find or to hit a screen, never mind find an audience. Perhaps you could give a bit of background on that.
Yeah, I mean, Horace says that it was actually banned by well, some people say it was banned by the BFI.
Given some money for it.
Yes, the BFI had given some money for it, but they had banned it. So it was part of this, it became something that fell back onto its own network of artists and community to actually get it around and make it be seen and let it be seen. And that has happened.
This is an age before social media.
Yes, it's much long before social media. But it's still necessary. I mean, we know a colleague of ours in the States who did his film, Sankofa, Haile Gerima, distributed the whole film across the US by contacting different communities and different institutions within those communities. And when Hollywood saw how well he was doing it, the Hollywood wouldn't give him the money to make the film. They said, oh, we'll buy a number of prints and we'll distribute it for you. And he said, no thanks, I'm doing fine. And I mean, Francis Anne is doing it now with Hero. But at that time, it was something that actually, because, I don't know, the institutions, main film institutions were a bit afraid and they weren't sure how to handle it. They've never had to deal with a black feature film by a black filmmaker, and also possibly because of the content, because of the subject matter, which was very topical, which we are gonna speak about again. But that was where it came back to the whole network of people working within the industry, and black people working within the art sector to support it, and the community definitely did, and the rest is history.
Would you like anything to add about the actual, well, you said, tell us where it was premiered and how.
Yes, as you know, which has been said, it was such, at the time, a delicate subject matter, because stop and search, black power, and all these police brutality, all these subjects at the time was rife, because yes, I grew up and I saw it all. I saw it. So acting the part as Tony, was it film portraying real life or real life portraying the film? Do you know where I'm coming from? Because yes, I was that boy growing up in that situation, seeing my friends get harassed by the police, hearing about how they set dogs on people, you know, letting the dogs loose, and all of a sudden, hold on, how about 8, 9, 10, 15 black people got beaten up and God knows what else, but no, one policeman gets injured and that's splashed across the news, you know? Yes, I grew up in that era. So, but coming back to the point, it was such, for the industry and the BFI, such a political bombshell, they didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to distribute it. They didn't want to put it out anywhere. So it was premiered in Rio Cinema, Kingsland Road, Dalston. And it was a Wednesday, you know? And it was just, looking back on it now, it was very sad to know a film of its ilk at the time just got one little premiere release, you know, one, and that was it. After it was released, that was it, it was gone. It was shelved, you know? But as I said, at the time I made a film, I didn't realize all of the political stuff going on behind it. You know, I made the film, and I said I moved on because there was other things happening at the time. You know, looking back on it now, I wish at the time now I'd really looked at the film when I was making it and said, oh, this is going to be something to look back in the future. But at that time, being, you know, 14, 15, whatever it is, you don't think about it. You just think, oh, what's the next film? What am I going to be next? You know, and that's how I was thinking at the time. You know?
Yes, Herbert. And so, I mean, and so looking back on it, you can see how it captured really important issues, and stop and search, and SUS. I was myself part of the Scrap SUS campaign, which was the use of an ancient law, the 1824 Vagrancy Act, which allowed the police to stop anybody on suspicion of committing an offence with no evidence. But of course, how it was used was against young black kids, predominantly. And I mean, and the sad truth of the fact is that harassment, perhaps you'd call it racial profiling now, is still going on. It's still going on, and not only is it happening at an, if you like, an embodied level on the street, right? But there's a whole technological machine in terms of surveillance. London's the most surveyed city on the planet. About this new technologies of facial recognition, right? This new, basically, this data crunching, this harvesting, and what they're talking about, predictive policing. And guess what? All the prejudices and all the racism that was previously spoken is now embedded in the technologies they're using as official sort of technical solutions to what, of course, are social and political problems. Anyway, just to say that how difficult it would be for us now as filmmakers to make a film about what's happening now, we must give respect to Horace and what he did to find a way of this, going back to my first point, a medium, a language for saying what was actually happening then. And I think that that's just completely admirable. Yeah.
Because there's something you said about you didn't know now, or anybody didn't know now what was, and that is something that I'm really impassioned about. That's why I run an archive. Because the thing is, when you make a film, when you do anything, when you take a stand, when you put something out there, when you write something, you do it because you are impelled to do it. And you have to do it at that time because you don't know how the future and the context of the future is going to read it. If it's important to you to put it out there, you really need to do it because it's something compelling you. And very often, it's history that will determine how important or how correct or whatever it is. And I truly believe that.
So just to reinforce that, I mean, as artists, as creative people, we have to trust our creative instincts. And to trust, which is one of the things I learned in journalism, that if we're interested in it personally, there's a good chance there are other people out there who are interested in it. And it's just way of giving ourselves as creative people the confidence to go forward. But look, we've got 15, 20 minutes left, and so I'd like to invite questions from the audience for Herbert and Jude and myself, but perhaps particularly for Herbert, about the film that you're about to see in a few minutes' time. So is any who would like to be the first questioner?
How did the film gain momentum? You talked about, obviously we know now films gain momentum through social media and all of that, and obviously you had a film that had a single premiere at the cinema. How did it get out there and gain momentum and gain an audience?
I think it got out there because word of mouth, really. As I said, there was no social media, etc. So word of mouth, somebody's saying, oh, did you see that film? Oh, have a look at this film. It's speaking about what you're going through right now, or what's happening today. And through word of mouth, it obviously got out because it said, if it's something, I said, very important, even though the government, whoever is trying to squash it, you know, if it's, as you said, if it's that good and if it's ironic to what's going on, it will rise to the top. And I think that's what Pressure did, you know, because what's going on back then, it's going on right now still. You know, years later, you look around and go, hold on a minute. Didn't Pressure mention that way back in the day? But it's happening right now. So has anything changed? And the answer is, I guess not, you know?
Apologies, I'm a little late with the mic, but please put your hand up. I have a second mic for questions.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you to everyone on the panel, but particularly Herbert. I came to Pressure last year, in fact, because I did research on Lonely Londoners, and the author, Sam Selvin, is a collaborator that wrote Pressure with Horace. What I found fascinating is not only the ideas of institutional racism and racism from society, but particularly because my dad's from Guyana, Indian Guyanese.
Oh, that's the family.
Yeah. And there's a scene where you, as Tony, I think it's near the beginning, you're getting ready to go to an interview, and the mother's saying to him, Tony, are you ready? Have you had dinner? And she's kind of barking out these, it's caring, it's loving, but it's kind of, you're incidental. She needs to get you to this place. And it's kind of like, when I saw that scene, I can feel it, chills down my spine. That's my dad. That's how my dad used to be when I left school, barking orders at me, get out of the house, go on time to the interviews. And I'm 43, I'm back at home after 10 years, he's the same.
I sympathise. Yeah, funny enough, it was like the same thing happened to me. Okay, it was happening on screen, they said it happened to you in real life. And yes, it was happening to me as well, at home, with my mum, well, not so much that he wasn't around, but with my mum, it was the same thing. She was fussing and fighting. So, I think that's black parents in general back in the day, you know? They just wanted you to go out there. They don't realise, I don't think at the time they really realised, excuse the language, the shit you have to go through, you know, to get to these interviews, to get to these jobs. Why are you so lazy? Why this, why that? But I'm going out for these interviews. Well, you must be doing something wrong. Well, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm doing my best. Well, your best is not good enough, you must be doing something wrong. You must, well, you see. And that's what it was like back in the day, you know? So, I sympathise with you, family.
Okay, another question? Yeah?
I just want to ask you your archive of films. How do we get to that? Have you got a website that we can?
Yes, there is a website. Yes.
So say the name of it now. Come on.
June Giovanni Pan African Cinema Archive. www.june and then